Hello, and welcome to the Office of Human Resources Management's training module on workers' compensation. I'm Joanne Pina, Program Manager for Policy and Training in the Workers' Compensation Branch here at CBP. As a former claims examiner of the Department of Labor, Office of Workers' Compensation Programs, I was primarily responsible for administering the Federal Employees Compensation Act and its governing regulations, adjudicating claims fairly and in a timely manner, in addition to paying benefits. This training is designed primarily for those who are new to workers' compensation and who would like a better understanding of the workers' compensation process. The Federal Employees Compensation Act is also referred to as the FECA. This is the law which provides benefits to federal employees of the United States for injuries incurred or the developing of occupational diseases while in the performance of duty. Just think a moment. If it were not for President Wilson, who enacted the first law protecting federal workers in 1916, can you imagine the red tape one would have to endure in order to sue their employer for lost wages and medical expenses due to work-related injuries? How grateful we are that the FECA does exist. The FECA also provides payment of benefits to dependents if a work-related injury or occupational disease caused an employee's death. The FECA is a federal law that is administered by the U.S. Department of Labor, commonly referred to as DOL. The Office of Workers' Compensation Programs, also known as OWCP. There are 12 OWCP district offices that are strategically located throughout the country. So depending upon where the injured employee resides would determine which OWCP office would manage the claim. Please understand that all entitlement decisions are made by the Department of Labor and not U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Have you ever wondered why some injury claims are accepted and others denied? Well, this training module will address the claims adjudication process. In other words, what does the claims examiner at any OWCP district office look for when deciding whether to accept or deny a claim? As a new CBP supervisor, it is important that you have a working understanding of the Federal Employees Compensation Act. It is my hope that at the end of this presentation, you will be in a better position to answer some basic and routine workers' compensation related questions of your injured employees with regard to the FECA claims process. Additionally, you will have gained a better understanding of the adjudication process and be familiar with the available resources that assist claims examiners in making the right decisions as far as entitlement is concerned. Lastly, you will have also gained a better understanding of the 5 requirements for FECA coverage and also become familiar with the 3 forms of appeal rights that are available under the FECA. Let's take a look at the adjudication process. What is adjudication? It is the process of developing the factual and medical evidence in a claim to determine if entitlements to workers' compensation benefits exist. If there is sufficient evidence to support the claims examiner will accept and approve the claim and benefits will be paid without delay. A factor we do well to remember, and that is, not every traumatic injury claim that is received at an OWCP district office is actually reviewed by the claims examiner. This is especially true for those minor injuries with minimal medical treatment, such as first aid cases, or when there is no indication for surgical intervention and there is no time lost from work. Therefore, such claims are administratively accepted and closed by OWCP as long as the medical expenses are less than $1,500. However, claims examiners do get involved and are assigned claims to adjudicate when there is evidence that the medical expenses will exceed or have exceeded $1,500, or if there is a need for surgical intervention, and or if the injured employee has lost time from work and subsequently files a claim for monetary compensation. So you may ask, on what basis does the claims examiner make the decision to accept or deny the claim? When the claims examiner receives a traumatic injury or an occupational disease claim and the claim cannot be accepted upon review, the claim then undergoes development. Development letters are issued to both the employee and CBP. These letters will explain the deficiencies and affords the employee due process. In accordance with FECA regulations, it is the claimant's burden to prove the merits of the claim. Even though it is the claimant's responsibility to provide the requested information to OWCP, however, CBP should assist in the gathering of only the factual evidence. The claimant is allowed 30 days to respond to the development letters issued by the claims examiner and given the opportunity to provide the necessary factual and medical evidence needed to support the claim. If the claims examiner issues an adverse decision resulting in a denial of the claim before the 30 days has ended, then the claims examiner would not be providing due process to the injured employee. Once the claims examiner has received all the necessary evidence, a decision will result in either an acceptance or denial of the claim. There are three primary sources that are utilized by claims examiners to guide them in making appropriate decisions, especially when the decision is of an adverse nature resulting in a denial of the claim. Number one, the FECA itself, which is the source of entitlement to compensation benefits for federal workers. Most of the provisions of the FECA have been interpreted and described through various OWCP directives and decisions of the Employees' Compensation Appeals Board. The decisions rendered by the ECAB represent the highest authority in federal workers' compensation claims and is analogous to the Supreme Court as the highest federal court in the United States. Oftentimes, claims examiners will reference an applicable decision of the ECAB to lend weight or substance to their denial decision. The second one is known as the Code of Federal Regulations. This is sometimes referred to as the regs. This reference tool describes the provisions of the law and contains additional information about the administration of the program. Claims examiners also, in their letters and decisions, will make reference to the regulations. And the last one, known as the FECA Procedure Manual. This describes in detail the procedures that claims examiners use to develop, process, and manage claims. Therefore, the Procedure Manual is the primary resource for claims examiners. There are several parts that range from communications and records also to medical case management.